Hi, I'm Brooke. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my cancer diagnosis and starting to get into the story of how I found out I had cancer, the things I had to do to advocate for myself, what the doctors did and did not do, and where I stand with my treatment and the future. Okay, I have anal cancer caused by HPV. It is stage 1N. I have 2 tumors in my anal area, and I have what my doctor termed as 2 tiny specks of cancer in one of my lymph nodes. My doctors have said that it's a 90 to 95% chance of curing my cancer. It was caught very early, and I'm very lucky. Anal cancer is difficult to diagnose and fairly rare. It comprises about 0.5% of all cancers from what I've read. I'm here to share what it took for me to get diagnosed, the symptoms I was having, the things I've had to do with my doctors to advocate for myself, and my hope is that anyone dealing with any kind of medical situation that might be uncomfortable, you can take away a tidbit to help you navigate things, because I am extremely lucky that I was able to get an early diagnosis, because all of it has been hard to talk about, even with my doctors. Okay, so let's get into it. So this is going to be a series of videos. I'm going to try to keep them fairly short. Soon after I turned 50, I had a colonoscopy and everything came back fine. Everything came back normal. In the report, the doctor did note that I had some hemorrhoids. And I guess I knew that. I'd had some, I had dealt with some irritation down there. I was trying to manage it with all the things you can do to get through this very common problem people have. When you have a problem like that and it's chronic, you don't always notice how bad it's gotten. I had some bleeding. I was generally dealing with it a lot of the time. It would get a little bit better, but it wasn't going away. I don't know if I had cancer at that point, but I had this chronic issue. I dealt with it for a few years. I had a light bulb moment when I was visiting family, and one of my family members, who's in their 70s, shared that recently they had gone to the emergency room because they had quite a bit of bleeding. The doctor examined them and said, "You're totally fine, you just have a hemorrhoid." It was after hearing that story from my family member that I thought, I'm going to try to focus on this problem I have, see if I can get feeling better, and I'm going to go talk to my doctor about it. The next thing I did was Google things you can do to help your hemorrhoids, like surgery, because I thought, can't they surgically do something? In this day and age, with medical advances, can't they just go in there and take care of things? And I did find this local clinic who specializes in hemorrhoid treatment, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll just go there. They had some different interventions that they do at this clinic. Luckily, I went back to my primary care doctor, and I think my whole appointment was focused on this issue. I said, hey, I want to find out if there's anything we can do to improve my hemorrhoids, because they're really bothering me. I asked her, isn't there some surgical intervention someone can do to fix this problem? And she almost immediately said, well, no, with an external hemorrhoid, you can't surgically do much for that. It's just not what they do. For an internal hemorrhoid, there are some different things. And I said, well, okay. And she's like, you just have a baby hemorrhoid. That was the one thing she said that was pretty dismissive. Looking back, that is frustrating to me. I hate to say this. Ever since I embraced my gray hair, people have treated me differently. Just across the board, people treat me differently. I've been okay with that to some degree, because I just continue being who I am, and maybe showing that just because you have gray hair and you're over 50 doesn't mean you're, I don't know what people think it means, but I'm really the same person that I've always been, with just more wisdom, and I don't know, I'm better. Anyway, her comment of it's just a baby hemorrhoid threw me off for a second, and I remember saying, okay, I want to go see a specialist. So she was aware that I had a little bit of a chronic issue. She's the one who had previously diagnosed me with HPV. She knew I had HPV. We were monitoring my cervix for changes because when you have HPV, that's really the focus is your cervix. I'm going to make a separate video with more information about HPV if you don't know much about it, but this video is just really going to focus on my cancer diagnosis. To her credit, she did refer me to a specialist. I'm in the University of Washington system, so she referred me to a UW doctor who specializes in this kind of thing. I call him my butt doctor. He's also a surgeon. So I left that appointment with a referral. I called that clinic and I got an appointment for, I think, about 6 weeks later. So my first appointment was in June of 2024. That doctor is the one who finally diagnosed me with anal cancer. It took 10 months to get that diagnosis. So in my next video, I will share what it was like working with that doctor, how we finally came to the point where I was notified that I have cancer. I think that's kind of an interesting story. You know, one of the things I want you to take away from this video is that my gut instinct was that can't they surgically do something? And looking back, that's going to be, that comes into play. But I want to point out that I've also been doing my regular screenings. You know, I've had my pap smears, my colonoscopy, as I mentioned, and all of those screenings have really, I mean, those are really important, and actually they could have actually done a better job of diagnosing my cancer sooner because I had those screenings. I'm going to end here. I hope you have a great day. Take care of yourself. Bye.